I'm Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and everybody's got a price for lazy booking. Hey, this is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to the Lazy Booking. No, it's true. It's damn true. Ho! Hey, folks, I'm WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and if you want to know what's going on in wrestling, check out Lazy Bookings. Ho!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of Lazy Booking right here on A2DRadio.com. Brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, your certified public accountants located at 301 Oxford Valley Road in Yardley, PA. You can give a call at 215-369-3300. Tax season is here, so be ready, be prepared, and call Gibson Mayer.
What is up, fam? Welcome to Lazy Booking. It is Thursday night. You got the Ginger Gang, Maddie Sensudi. You got Chrome. Ryan Brodo over on the ones and twos. A lot to talk about this week. Guys, our Scanzano Sports poll question. Which match will have the biggest impact on the WrestleMania card? We have the Owens-Bryan match, Becky and Charlotte. And if you were over on, I believe it is the Twitter that allows us to have the extra vote in there, we also dropped in Miz and Shane versus the Usos.
Okay.
So, if you're joining us on Instagram, Periscope, Twitter, the website, YouTube, Facebook, welcome. We're looking forward to chatting with you guys as always. We're going to talk Raw and SmackDown. We're going to preview Fastlane. Number of news stories this week ranging from injuries, controversies, as well as an unfortunate loss in King Kong Bundy, which we will reflect on towards the end of the show. Lots to talk about. Raw this week emanating from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I was present. As you can see, I'm cross-promoting Lazy Booking as well as Hockey Happy Hour that's coming at you tonight at 10 p.m. with the hockey and wrestling apparel for the evening.
The hockey wrestling connection.
Yes, and I'm pretty sweet shirt. I'm not going to lie. I'm enjoying it. Enjoying it a lot. But, yeah. So, poll question. I mean, what do you guys feel? I know, and I'm going to pull up the numbers as we discuss kind of our live poll that we've been kind of unrolling lately on show days where whatever our poll question that we're going to discuss, you know, we kind of put it out there early. We want to gauge the fam and where this conversation in their mind is going to be going early. Makes it a lot of fun. But I'll jump to you, Maddie. What do you think? Which match do you believe is going to have the biggest implications on WrestleMania?
Well, obviously the biggest implications right now on Mania, it would have to probably be Becky and Charlotte, only because we all kind of know what the main event is supposed to be, and this is kind of how Becky's got to get into the match since they're going this route with it. So to me, obviously, that's going to have the biggest effect on the WrestleMania card. Whereas the other matches, not that they don't have an impact, but the main event is going to be the women. So it's definitely going to have the biggest impact.
What do you got, Ryan? I want you to answer this question.
No, I agree. I mean, you're looking at it to where we've been talking about this match with Becky Lynch, with Charlotte, with Ronda Rousey for a long time. You know, while I believe, and we all believe, that this match on Sunday is very predictable, we know what's going to happen, it does have the most effect because, you know, the other option, which is obviously Owens and Bryan, it has implications, obviously, because if Owens wins, obviously a lot changes, but there's a lot more different options that they can go in with that title as opposed to the women's title.
All right. So I'm going to say, as of now, on the Twitter, Becky and Charlotte is in the lead with 64%, 27% for Owens, Bryan, Miz, and Shane versus the Usos is a distant 3 at 9%. Over on the Facebook, which I'm going to pull up in 1 second, the fam, I know early the fam was heading real big over to Becky and Charlotte. I know we were looking at for a while like 90+%. Of course, this is going to be stupid for me. I'll pull it up while we're talking. I'm going the other way. I'm going Owens and Bryan. And the reason that I'm going Owens and Bryan, we obviously know how important the Charlotte-Becky feud is. And as far as the main event card, you know, it's going to shape things. but we know that all three of them are going to be involved in one way or the other. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't have an implication on the card of what's the unforeseen direction that everything's going to happen. However, everything with the WWE title had switched. You know, there was heavy rumors that originally John Cena was the plan. Everything took off with Kofi Kingston, which, by the way, if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, Edge and Christian, their podcast, they had Kofi on this week or the previous week discussing everything and kind of how it all started to evolve with the injury to Mustafa Ali. If you haven't had a chance, check it out. It's worth the listen. It's really, really good. But, and over it, so it is definitely, it's swayed kind of slightly. Still 80%, by the way, for Charlotte and Becky. 20% for Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens. But I'm looking at it as the switch that was made. Kevin Owens was the second wrench thrown into it because obviously the takeoff of Kofi was a huge thing. Now implementing Kevin Owens, who's clearly back now as a face, totally to me changes the landscape of what direction, how are they going to do this with the WWE title? There's this now big build-up to what you would think would be a payoff at WrestleMania for Kofi Kingston. But where does Kevin Owens come into the mix? Does Kevin Owens not come into the mix? Does he somehow lose this week and he's not in the WWE title picture, which then in turn, does he end up being in another feud? Or is it another triple threat match that we see at WrestleMania? There's a lot of unknowns that are coming out of this match to how this is going to build to whatever direction they go with WrestleMania. To me, we have an idea of where WrestleMania is going with the women. It's important because it's going to solidify that, but I don't see coming out of this with any kind of a solidification on where they're going. Is it a triple threat? Is it Kevin Owens is going to be a special guest referee? You know, we just don't know. And to that, I'm more intrigued to see how this match plays out. And I think this is going to have a more important effect on what we are going to see on April 7th when we see WrestleMania.
Well, I will say this. Throwing Kevin Owens into the mix here does bring eyes to the WWE title, whereas before, like literally a month before, no one gave a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody was just like, whatever. It's all about the women because they're going to main event WrestleMania. It's all about Charlotte and Becky and Ronda. It's not about anything else. Universal title, we already know that's Brock and Seth, so whatever. This really brought...
What's up, Johnny come lately? You slacking son of a bitch.
But
a couple more than mellow yellows, you might have got here a little bit faster. I love you, pal. That's our cameo by the one and only Greg Malakovic, Tom Brady jersey lover.
And we totally didn't start the show a little earlier just so that run-in would happen. Totally didn't stage that at all. But what I was going to say was... overall, I think it does bring attention to the WWE title because beforehand, no one cared. No one thought it was important because it was not going to be the main event. So it's like, well, whatever. I guess Daniel Bryan's just going to have an easy title defense at WrestleMania, and he's going to continue his heel run. But now that this has happened, it's like, oh, okay. Now there's intrigue into the match.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think there was intrigue anyway because of when everything took off with Kofi. But reality is there really wasn't much buzz around the WWE title. And the fact that it was so open and really no clear direction, the fact that people weren't talking about it is an issue. That's supposed to be, you know, I know they have the Universal title and it's on Raw and it's Brock Lesnar, but WWE's own WWE title has historically been the flagship title for the company, which is hence why it's been on AJ Styles for so damn long, because he's a guy who is worthy enough of being in that prestige and carrying that title, and clearly Daniel Bryan is as well. So the fact that people weren't talking about it, almost as if it's an afterthought, it was almost on par with, you know, who cares what happens with the U.S. title or the Intercontinental title for a couple of years was like that. You know, that's a problem.
Yeah.
The Kofi phenomenon that's taken place created a new intrigue in that, and then clearly having the unexpected earlier return of Kevin Owens, because he had said in those selfie promos, you know, I'm a few weeks away, and it ended up being a week after that. So it definitely adds a lot of intrigue.
Yeah, I wonder what they are going to do with it. I would like to see. It would be crazy if Kofi does win it at WrestleMania, because it would be something new. You know, it's not someone that's held the belt before, so it's a first-time champion. Owens held the Universal title, so he's been a world champion. Obviously, Daniel Bryan's the current champ. So it'd be a big deal, because it's like, holy shit, it's the first-time champ, first African-American WWE champion. There's a lot of firsts in there for just one wrestler. I don't know. Part of me thinks it happens at Mania, and then a part of me thinks maybe they prolong it. I don't know, because WWE has a habit of doing both.
Well, there was a lot of talk around WrestleMania 19 that we had talked about previously, and that was when Booker T faced Triple H. And in that, they positioned that for Booker to get a huge, huge win out of that. And the way that feud played out left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths because of that they tapped into that past.
Yeah.
I would hope. I mean, it's a little different because you're talking about a guy's kind of personal struggles as opposed to a guy who's just been with the company for 11 years.
But also, they're not playing the racial angle
right.
They did.
No, and right. I mean, I wasn't going to go there with that, but clearly we know that. But just in terms of, you know, creating so much momentum behind a baby face who, like a Kofi Kingston, put his time in, paid his dues, and yeah, he was a WCW champion, but really at a time where nobody cared about WCW. It was, again, an afterthought, as I had said previously. This was a really good opportunity for them to create a star in Booker at that time, and they dropped the ball. So you would hope this isn't a mirror image that they're building up Kofi Kingston, because to me, they've kind of backed themselves now into a corner. The fans put it there, but by acknowledging it and creating that push and doing the way they did on Monday Night Raw when Vince removed him from the match after having this big video package in 11 years with the company, it would be a huge letdown to a lot of people.
Well, I think in a way the WWE are very lucky that they're in this situation, because we've been talking for the last couple months when, you know, obviously over the last few months, as we're kind of starting to see the landscape of WrestleMania, who's not going to be there, who is going to be there, you know, who's available to be there when you talk about injuries, all that stuff. And it was looking like for a while that WrestleMania really didn't have an identity. The big stars aren't going to be around like in past years. There wasn't anything groundbreaking or shocking that was going to happen. And in a way, we were looking at the same old thing of Brock Lesnar in a big-time main event spot. Seth Rollins, we know he's going to win the title. I know we have the Becky Lynch thing, but we know where they're going. It's kind of obvious how they're going in that direction. So this Kofi Kingston kind of came out of nowhere, and in a way, in my opinion, if they do the right thing, which in my opinion, like we talked about, they kind of put themselves in a corner, they have to give Kofi the belt, in my opinion. And it's great. It's not like they're forced into it because it's the right thing to do. But if they do that, I think that moment, being as though he is currently a fan favorite, will overshadow maybe some of the flaws in the other matches, or maybe how this WrestleMania, as far as star power, will compare to others because of how popular this move would be.
Yeah.
It would overshadow, Brock Lesnar's back. Oh, he's going to drop the title again, and then he's going to go away, or Charlotte. There's so many things.
Well, too, so we always talk about the 0s and 5 WrestleManias are always about big moments. It always seems to have an elevated level. The women are going to be first main eventing, this and that. What they have a chance to do here as well, there's a lot of parallels to when at WrestleMania 20 you had Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero in the title picture. Clearly, with what had happened with the whole Chris Benoit thing that we know about, and we're not going to hash into the details of that, that's almost like a lost footage in a lot of ways. It took that moment away from them in terms of, and that created a guy or guys who had worked so hard to get to this level and made so many people look good along the way and finally getting their moment. This is almost a chance for them to get that clip that you can run for years and years and years back, like at 30 with the Daniel Bryan who built back up. Now you're at 35. And Now 5 years later, the script is flipped because Daniel Bryan's the one trying to hold the guy back who is deserving of this opportunity. It's like a perfect parallel of everything that just kind of comes back full circle.
In a way, too, also, if they do wind up going the route of making the WWE title match a triple threat, it actually is the smart move to do. Reason being is because, in a way, you don't have Daniel Bryan losing clean. You can always have the heel Daniel Bryan that you have now be able to sneak the title back later in the year if you have to do it. Only if you have to do it. Mm-hmm. But if you have Kofi go over, you can have him pin a Kevin Owens, or you can have that happen, and that's out of the way. He's the champ. Daniel Bryan is hovering in the background. He can claim he never lost his title. And on top of that, too, you can eventually, if you have to pull the plug on Kofi, hopefully they won't have to do that as the year progresses. Mm-hmm. But if it has to happen, you'll be like, okay, we'll pull the plug. Daniel Bryan's going to take the belt back.
One thing I wouldn't do, I would not have Kevin Owens take the fall in this match. If it's a triple threat, and I know usually when it's a triple threat, it's to have somebody else take the fall. Mm-hmm. Daniel Bryan does not need to be protected. Daniel Bryan has been pinned by Kofi. He's been pinned by Kevin Owens.
That is true.
It's not going to hurt him for people to get that visual now because we've seen it.
He's not that kind of champion.
And at this point, he's the chicken shit champion now who's above everybody else. WrestleMania, as opposed to like a Fastlane or opposed to, a elimination chamber type of thing where, you do protect guys because for these big opportunities, these big matches, WrestleMania is the time where you hit the reset button for the most part after. So that's when you want the chicken shit champion to get his comeuppance and take the fall and have to, sustain that agony of defeat while you have this euphoric moment of, whether it's, Kofi Kingston or Becky Lynch or however they do it.
There's only one way, in my opinion, if it's somehow, and we kind of talked about this last week, to where I don't believe it should go to a triple threat at Mania because we already have the other triple threat there, and I don't believe it's necessary. Now, unless they have a big plan with Kevin Owens, which they could, but if somehow Kevin Owens is involved in the match and he's the one to take the pin, the only way they could do it, and I would not be a fan of this, is if Sami Zayn runs down to the ring looking like he's going to help Kevin Owens and then turn on him.
Could happen.
That's the only way possible I think they could do this. But again, I wouldn't be a fan of it.
And really, what they could do, and he doesn't even have to be involved in the pin, though. That's a way you could take Kevin Owens out of the equation.
Yes.
Sami Zayn at some point comes down, attacks Owens, takes him out,
throw him
or
to
whatever.
the outside, throw him into the crowd, and then that's done.
Totally eliminates Kevin Owens from the equation to where it's down to Bryan and Kofi. Kofi gets that big moment. That's absolutely spot on. I could see, although from rumors it doesn't sound like it's the direction they're going to go in. I could see a Kevin Owens Samoa Joe rivalry or for WrestleMania as well. I'm thrilled for Samoa Joe that
about
he
freaking
finally
time.
won a title. Samoa Joe wins the U.S. title on SmackDown. Really excited for him that he finally has a singles title, and hopefully this is now a guy that's going to bring back a legitimacy to the title. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that would be a really good feud. But again, I don't know that Kevin Owens should be taking a loss. I could see Sami Zayn coming back at this pay-per-view and taking Kevin Owens out. And that's where you have just a rivalry match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn at WrestleMania.
Well, I saw this on Instagram, so I'm not going to take credit for this theory or storyline idea, but somebody had said on Instagram, what if Kevin Owens wins the title this Sunday, Sami Zayn comes down to congratulate him, and they literally do exactly what Kevin Owens did to Sami Zayn in NXT, where they turn on him, basically, and then Sami turns heel, attacks Kevin Owens, and that's the Mania match for the title at WrestleMania.
I would hate it.
I would hate it because the reason, like the storyline or theory I had a couple minutes ago about Sami Zayn coming down and interfering, I would not like that because we've seen Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens go against each other at a pay-per-view or on a Monday Night Raw 100 times. That right there is the new John Cena, Randy Orton. You know what I mean? That we saw 1,000 times.
But I would disagree in this sense. We haven't seen that feud where Kevin Owens is the face and Sami Zayn is the heel. Sami was really just digging his feet in at the point where he got hurt. I mean, he was turning a corner in a big way, minus the Lashley feud, which we know was a complete debacle
Bobby
on
sisters.
the part of creative. Yeah. But I feel like I do believe that there's certain feuds that you don't have to constantly have over and over and over in a short period of time, but it's been long enough now to where these two haven't been going at each other, and it is fresh and new by having them switch the roles.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that these are guys. These could be like a maybe not quite at the level because they're not. I don't think they're going to be over all time type of guys like this, but you know those rivalries between Randy Orton and John Cena, and that got stale because it was always heel and face of the same guys.
Yep.
If they could have switched roles, it would have gave it something fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Or Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels is always the example. They had the feud for the Intercontinental Tag Team titles. They did it Intercontinental title, and then they did it for the WWE title.
You can say the same thing with early 2000s. They did a lot of matches between Benoit and Kurt Angle.
Correct.
So it could be one of those things as well.
Yep.
One of the things, though, that I will say that they have been doing on SmackDown, particularly with Daniel Bryan, and that's only because he's there, one thing that I do like is that they have allowed a lot more fresher faces to get into the world title picture. It's not the same guys that you usually see.
Agreed.
And that's something that that they subtly were doing. Now I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice. It's nice to see some fresh faces in the world title picture. It's not just Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, Randy Orton. And we've seen AJ Styles a lot. He can always come back and get the belt anytime, at any point. It doesn't matter. Randy Orton has held the belt so many times that it practically is just boring to see him even walk.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Yes, I know I'm not an Orton fan. I'm very self-aware of that.
I have a weird love-hate thing with Orton. I love Orton, but I agree that he gets stale. But then when he's not in the title picture for a while, I'm like, I kind of miss a good Randy Orton heel title run.
You know what? I like him. Like I like the person Randy Orton. Like I don't know if you guys saw on Twitter, like the video that the wife took
of him dancing.
Yeah, like that
I shared that around.
That's hilarious to me.
It was great.
Like the stuff he does outside of the ring, I'm like, oh, this guy's the coolest ever. When he gets in the ring, I'm like, oh, what happened to you? Like he's not doing anything wrong, but it's not his fault.
It's kind of the same thing that happens with Roman. You can see outside of the ring the personality that he has. But then when he comes into the ring, he's playing the character Roman Reigns. It's kind of like WWE sucks out that personality and replaces it with your character and says, you got to be that outside now. You can't be what you are in your real life.
But I think that Roman is who he is in his real life.
We're a week in, and we're already back to the Roman.
I was trying to do a comparison of two guys.
Yes. Didn't take long, though, did it?
We're back.
Shit,
Roman's back.
Oh, Roman, poor guy.
Hey, listen, it's not a knock on Roman. It's a knock on the WWE machine. Yes. It has nothing to do with Roman as a person.
I think it depends on how you look at it, because I believe early in his singles run, there was a lot of that. I think he turned a corner after he beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania 33, and you saw a lot more of his own personality.
He embraced it.
And I think a lot more for the better. I mean, I do. The way he talked coming out as Joe in both instances of announcing his diagnosis and announcing his remission was a lot like how Roman Reigns is as a character. It's just amped up a little bit, and I'm fine with that. I agree with you early on when we were talking about what was it, Irish potatoes or some shit like that? Talking about Sheamus.
Suffering succotash.
Yeah, I mean that was the glory days of WWE creative. We'll say that. But he has. I would disagree in the sense of over the last 2 years, I do think you've seen more of the actual man Roman Reigns. I just don't think people wanted him because the company anointed him the guy. We're in an era now where whoever the guy is, we don't want him. I guarantee you it's only a matter of time before they turn on Becky Lynch as well.
We got to speak on one thing.
Oh, well, hell, they'll turn on Kofi, too, real fast. If they go that route with him, you know it's going to happen.
We got to speak on something right now.
Okay.
We didn't even talk about it for a second last week, which I'm shocked about. We just going to ignore that Kevin Owens is using the Stone Cold Stunner now.
I love it.
Oh, yeah, that came out of nowhere.
I love it.
I think it's phenomenal. He's the one guy that could do it now because it fits.
Yeah.
Roman can't do it. Like, he can do it, but it wouldn't fit.
Well, what I like about it, when Cena started doing, like, the springboard one, it was pretty cool when he first started doing it.
Yes.
But I think what Austin I think what Austin didn't like, and I agree with him, is when you have those all-time great finishers. Why I hate what the fucking Young Bucks do. They've killed the super kick, which is one of the greatest finishers of all time. Like, you legitimately get kicked in the face, that shit's knocking your teeth out down your throat. It's a great finishing move, but by oversaturating it and making it a non-factor, it ruins it. By having Kevin Owens come back, and that was something we didn't expect, because his pop-up powerbomb's a great finisher. But damn, I mean, when he hit the stunner and he got the pin, and I loved how I think, was it Michael Cole or was it Tom Phillips went, oh, hell yeah.
I think it was Tom Phillips.
Tom Phillips, right.
Yeah, because I think it was on
It was great, and I agree with you. He's a guy that when you try to think of who could pull it off, Kevin Owens can pull off, and it's a beautiful stunner. And Daniel Bryan selling it, by the way, freaking great.
I'm gonna say
I missed a good stunner sell.
I think I know. I think I know why they did it, and this is gonna sound weird on the surface, but his old finisher, the pop-up powerbomb, I don't believe that's a babyface finisher. That's not a finisher that gets a pop. That's more of a heel finisher.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I always go back to the first time he showed up on Raw against Cena, and just him doing the pop-up powerbomb. I'm like, oh, okay, that's an impact. The stunner is one of the biggest pop fest finishers ever.
I agree.
So I think because of that fully gets him over as a babyface.
I 100.
It
I
fits
think
him
that's
perfect.
a great point, Ryan. I absolutely agree with
And
that.
I wonder if when he goes back eventually to a heel, I wonder if he goes back to the pop-up powerbomb, because that would really add some psychology to the whole finisher thing. You know what I mean? His motives.
Yeah. Are you a fan of it, Matty? Matty does not look sold on Kevin Owens using the Stone Cold Stunner.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just because of me. It's just like, I'm just getting in my old ways here. It's like, that's Austin's move.
He sounded like
Why
he
the
was 70
fuck are you
years old.
using Austin's move?
I'm fucking 23 years old, 24 years old. How old?
25.
25 years old. I'm getting in my old ways, man.
But that's the thing. It's just like when you see Austin, it's just like stunner. Now it's like, now there's going to be kids who are going to say Kevin Owens, and that kind of pisses me off. I'm not going to lie. Like, that's
what, though?
fucking wrong.
He's
It's wrong
not
on
wrong.
so many levels. But that's just because the fan in me is dying slowly because of it.
Right.
Because that move is now being used by someone who, not that I have anything wrong with
But that is-
Owens being
I have
the
to
guy.
tell you, though,
it's
that
just-
is-
I just have a problem with someone else using the
that
stunner
really
as
is a
finishing
total
move.
old man thing to say, though. That's
Yeah.
like
Sorry.
people saying, oh, Michael Jordan jumped from the free throw line. And then someone else does, and they're like, oh, well, I mean, it's not going to be LeBron, whoever it is. Ben Simmons jumped from the free throw line. Oh, my God. And that's the highlight they remember. And it's like, you fucking forgot about Michael. Like, in time, people are going to do it. And it's picking and choosing the right spot. That's why I don't have a problem with it. And I like that it's been years since we've seen it.
Yes.
And, I mean, to me, we're talking Austin retired in what, 2005?
2003.
2003. So we're talking, we're almost 16 years now to his
I know.
last match.
I know. It's just, it was one of those things. And then also the other part of me
You
kind of.
talk about the Nature Boy Ric Flair. There was Nature Boy Buddy Rogers before that, and I guarantee you there were people saying there was only one Nature Boy, and now this motherfucker's taking over the Nature
There
Boy.
probably was. But that's the thing, though. He's not taking, like, the gimmick. Like, that's the thing. It's not the gimmick that he's – that's kind of a different story. He's not coming out and drinking beer and
Using
you know,
somebody's
flipping
move
people
is
off.
better than stealing somebody's persona, Matty. Ric Flair stole somebody's persona,
No,
and
that's
it's
what I'm
totally
saying.
associated
Mataraki
with
is
it.
I'm
not
not-
happy with Maddie in the chat right now.
I'm
He's not happy.
I'm not comparing him to say – I'm not saying that
Right.
he's, like, stealing Austin's gimmick.
Yeah.
That would have been a problem. That's
Yeah.
a big problem right there. I'm like, okay, so why are you stealing Austin's gimmick? No. That's worse. I was just saying that, like –
No, because Becky Lynch is stealing Austin's gimmick
Well,
right now.
yeah, which is kind of sad because not sad in the sense of like I get why it works. It's just like you kind of feel like you shouldn't try so hard to be the next Austin, and you shouldn't try so hard to be the next this.
Yeah.
You should try to be the first you.
This is what
and that's one thing
Oh
that
my
I've
God, he's
always
taking a-
disagreed a lot of things with.
Yeah.
With
Inspirational.
sometimes with creative, and that's nothing against wrestlers. They're being told sometimes they're told what to do, but at the same time you're like. You have your gimmick, you have
Matt-
your personality, and it gets over, and you almost feel like when you do something that relates to the past, a finisher's a little different story. But if you're trying to emulate a gimmick, it sometimes takes away from that. And I'm not saying that in Kevin Owens' standpoint with the finisher. I'm talking more of the Becky thing.
First of all, I got two things that contribute to this before I'm going to read down and including I'm going to get to Mataraki's points. First of all, did you see the Page movie? Because you totally just cut the Rock promo in the Page movie where he says, "Don't try to be the first, the next me, be the first you."
But you know what? Is that not a true line?
It is
it's a very true line, and you see a lot of people try to emulate other people, and it comes off fake. And that's just a smack across.
I
the
agree
face.
with you. I agree with you. But here's my other thing I'm going to say, and this is from Austin's own mouth. He never has a problem with somebody using the stunner, but it should be a finisher.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fine.
And I
he
think
gave it his blessing.
I think that in that instance, that to me makes it okay. I mean, I know that the guys turned around, but the Undertaker took the pile driver. You could go back even before this guy, but who was synonymous with the pile driver before him? You know exactly who it is. Jerry the King Lawler. Jerry Lawler for 25 years was the king of the pile driver before The Undertaker came along. Now when people think of a pile driver, it's synonymous with The Undertaker and Kane. Even fucking Kane's name gets thrown in before Jerry Lawler. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's going to happen over time. But it's doing it the right way. And that's how Austin says. You know, he hates that people take someone's finisher, an iconic finisher, and it's not a finisher. That's why he doesn't like that the Young Bucks use a super kick. I'm with him. It's nonsense because Shawn Michaels had one of the greatest finishers of all time that we say, boom, could come out of nowhere. And now it's, okay, we got super kick party. We're super kicking little kids in the ring, and it takes away from it.
Oh, no, that 100% does. Yeah, it takes the effectiveness of the move away.
I'm going to run.
He's throwing missiles in here right now.
I'm going to run him down. All right, so I'm gonna start from the top. I did miss a Raska comment because when I went out of the thing, it takes comments out.
Yeah.
Frank Vespi, hey yo, sorry to bother you at work. Rest in peace, King Kong Bundy. # free Tito. Fuck Tito. Kyle Meager, he says he's going to WrestleMania, and he says sweet, can't wait for my girl Ronda to kick some ass because I told him I'm going to Mania as well. Dawn chimes in. Dawn says, hey, fam. What's up, Dawn?
Hey, Dawn.
Andy Ritter says, what's good, boys? 31 days till WrestleMania. Let's go. That's right. Today is the 1 month period before WrestleMania. I love it. I'm excited for it. Mike Mataraki says, hey, boys, late to the party tonight. Really curious to see how WWE gets Kofi back into the WWE Championship picture. And after the way SmackDown ended on Tuesday, are we going to get a 4-way with Daniel Bryan, KO, Kofi, and Mustafa Ali? That's another person, though, that is interesting in the mix. It makes it very intriguing.
He did get a pop at the end of SmackDown.
He did. And I'm happy to see that despite Kofi taking his spot, he was able to come back and doesn't seem like he lost any or very little momentum. I agree with you on that. Andy Ritter says there's a great way to build that too since Ali got robbed of his shot. So did Kofi. And I'm sure KO will get robbed on Sunday. It's one way to build. Sure, you can have a bunch of people with an axe to grind. Absolutely. David Raska says Samoa Joe needs to defend the U.S. title this Sunday. Ralph says, is The Undertaker back yet? Not yet, but I am sticking to it. He's going to end up being at WrestleMania. How are you guys feeling about that today?
I don't think so, to be
You
honest.
don't? Really?
No. It's the first year I'm going to say no.
Anything's possible. So, I mean, honestly, he could show up out of nowhere. They kept it secret. Well, not that they kept it secret, but he wasn't, reported, oh, Taker's in the building.
Chrome.
You know,
Maybe he can't because he's going to be at All In, too.
Chrome, here's the thing. Who?
They could do anybody. They could do the Cena rematch from last year.
They really could, honestly.
And not have John Cena, John Cena out in 2 minutes and 31 seconds like they did last year.
When we're done with the chat, I'll fantasy book something with it.
All right.
With the Taker.
Victor Williams says David Raska getting Joe and Cena at Mania, which was the rumor that I've heard as of now.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, I can't say that that's solidified because Cena's been put in and pulled out of 3 different scenarios at this point. So that could change.
Yeah.
It could be Mustafa Ali could end up because there's heat between Ali and Joe before Ali went out, if you recall.
Well,
that's true.
That was the kind of thing I was going to talk about in a minute. But what I believe one of the options is that Samoa Joe is going to go kind of mock Cena and do like a U.S. Open challenge for the next month or two until WrestleMania. And I think what they could do if it's right up against the fence on if Cena's going to be there, Samoa Joe comes out to the ring, issues a challenge, and then Cena comes out. That's also maybe something they could do with Taker.
Similar with that, well, they're not going to have Taker come back for the U.S. title. But similar to that would be a real step down on the card for him to come back for.
At least it's the title. No, a step down was the Saudi Arabia match. That was the step down.
What I would say, I like where your head's at with, but it's not very heel-like to have the U.S. Open Challenge. He could come out and act like he's going to do it and say, I'm not doing it, I'm above that, this and that, and then John Cena comes out and addresses him, and it's a kind of a way to get around it. But every time the heel ends up losing or winning the U.S. title, the U.S. Open Challenge stops because they won't do it. They get forced into matches sometimes when someone comes out, which is where I could see the feud starting with Cena possibly this week coming up. But I like where your head's at, though, and somehow the U.S. Open Challenge, whether it happens or doesn't, is going to probably come into it. It's a logical way to bring Cena back in.
Because they wouldn't have this unless they're just doing strictly comedy things. I don't believe they would have R-Truth continuously mention Cena.
I agree.
Like, that has to be for a reason.
And Joe made it a point to mention Cena in his post-match promo as well. So, would you agree?
What, with Joe?
With Joe and Cena and kind of the parallels of, Truth trying to be like John Cena. Joe's the one that comes out and talks about how he defeated him and whatever he channeled his hero, it didn't work, yada, yada, yada. It makes a lot of sense. They're setting up those seeds.
I mean, it'd be interesting. I would be interested to see how they go about it. I would hope Joe would win because that would be a huge feather in the cap for Joe to get a win on Cena.
I would too. Ralph says they also need to bring back the Hurricane. The Hurricane is back, but he is a backstage agent. Victor Williams says it's going to be Joe and Cena at Mania. Reports are WWE is going to make the U.S. title a priority, which doesn't shock me by the result of putting the title on Joe. To me, it tells me they are definitely looking to rebuild the stock on that title. He says AJ more than likely going to Raw during the shakeup. I agree. I hope he does. He needs it. He says, in my opinion, if WWE was ever going to turn Roman heel, it should be now.
No.
Never going to happen.
No.
We actually did get into this conversation, and I think we agreed. If you were going to do it, this definitely would be the time. But we all agreed with the foundations and him now being the face of the WWE's initiative against cancer and pediatric cancer and every kind of cancer. There's no way they're going to be able to. There's no way.
It's just the fact that it's bad taste. You know what I mean? Because it's something that happened in real life, whereas it's not something that happened as a storyline.
I mean, the guy is in a position to truly make a difference now in things that are beyond our fictional little world of pro wrestling.
Well, it's
and using that platform, and people want to cheer for him now.
Yeah, well, as much as for years we would talk about Cena and how he really can't turn heel because of obviously the stuff he does with Make-A-Wish, the T-shirt sales, all that, the little kids. We talked about, they really can't do it. This is times 10 now. Roman really can't turn heel now.
Never.
And it's good, and it's for the right reasons, obviously.
Right.
So for anybody who thinks that he's going to turn heel or he should, I'm sorry, but you're going to be disappointed.
No,
you know what it is?
I don't disagree with the notion though that if there was ever a time to do it, it would be now.
If it was about strictly,
but there's not actually a time to do it because of the scenario.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though.
In a wrestling term,
one of the things that I think that's the thing, though, when people bring up, they could turn him heel now, I'd be like, see, you have to pull yourself back, and you have to look at this like, this isn't wrestling.
Yeah.
You're getting this confused with something. If this was NJPW, if this was ROH, if this was anything else, possibly. But even they probably wouldn't do it because it's something that happened in real life. But point is that it could happen there. It won't happen in WWE. WWE does sports entertainment. There's a difference between the two. And
Agreed.
I think that some people get that confused. They
Agreed.
don't understand the difference.
Agreed. Ritter says, why in the world would they do that? Yeah, he says, shock factor, the fans will be back to booing him in a month or two. They don't want fans to boo him. Mike, all right, so now we're getting into Mataraki's points, Matty, so brace yourself.
Take a seat.
He says, Matty hating on Roman is like a normal person hating puppies. But
Well, technically, I wasn't hating
no,
on
no,
Roman.
no. I know. When we
Yeah.
cleared up, I think he put that in when it sounded like you were starting to hate on him.
No, yeah,
This
okay.
was at the very beginning.
Yeah, and he says similar to Neville giving up the red arrow when he went heel. To your point, talking about the pop-up power bomb. Great point, Victor. Mike Mataraki says, and they've said Austin was one of his idols, and he's using it as an homage to one of his heroes.
Yep.
Makes a ton of sense. Daniel Bakley says, thoughts on Mustafa Ali moving forward and thoughts on Ciampa being out for a year, roughly as it looks. We're going to talk Ciampa a little bit later in more detail, but real quick thoughts. Big hit for WWE, I think.
Well,
from what I've read, though, and I believe David Meltzer might have been the one to report this, but don't quote me, and I'm not a Meltzer guy, but they already, even if it's a year down the road, have his return storyline planned out. Ciampa.
Interesting.
So they see the dollar signs in Ciampa.
Good.
Well, you know what? The thing is
tough loss, though.
It is a tough loss because it does shoot all of your like plan A's right in the kneecap, and it's like, shit. Well, that's scrapped. But here's the thing, though. The beauty of him suffering an injury is when he comes back, it's going to be such a huge thing when he comes back. It's the only blessing that you can get out of that whole shitty situation that's happened right now.
But, I mean, it's going to be interesting now what happens with Gargano, because clearly they were going to go the DIY route. Now they're putting that whole spot on Ricochet and Aleister Black, which is so odd to me.
That is an odd couple, but, I mean...
I think it's because of that. I was going to say this is really bad for, obviously, WWE as a whole. Gargano and Ciampa, obviously, but I think this is really good for Ricochet and Aleister Black because what I think they'll do, because it was so sudden, whatever they had planned in a tag team perspective for Gargano and Ciampa, they're going to put Aleister Black and Ricochet in that role, for example. So I think it could work out for them, at least in the short term. But it doesn't really make – it's a weird combo. And, again, they have Aleister Black talking every week. I don't know why.
Well, that's going to be a thing now, so it's time we got to start getting over it and getting
I'm never going to get over it.
All right, here we go. Mike says, Jesus Christ, Matt. Matt, you're being a huge old fart tonight. Go take some happy pills and thank your lucky stars that I'm not there to rip you tonight. That was his first comment. Ritter says, so we are quoting Fighting With My Family now, which I did say. Victor says Mustafa will more than likely be in the title picture at Mania. Ciampa is loving the belt, I think he meant to say leaving the belt. And my assumption would be Adam Cole Gargano at Takeover. I think that would be great. By the way,
Yeah.
Undisputed Era will have all the titles sooner rather than later. So this does open that possibility up for that. Christopher Geddes, he says, I was thinking the same thing, Andy Ritter. He meant dropping the belt. All right, Mike says, Matty says, be the first you, but he's the same guy who uses Omega's Bullet Club gunshots to close every show. Taking a shot
discretion is advised.
Take a shot at him, Matty.
I mean, really, at the end of the day, comparing me to Kenny Omega is kind of silly because it's like, okay, you're comparing a fellow co-host of a podcast to a guy who's the best wrestler in the world. Does it really matter if I do it? Like, it really doesn't matter because this isn't going to affect Kenny Omega's budget anytime
It's
soon.
a live podcast.
So why does it matter if I do it? But secondly, again, you don't see, every single person in the world doing a certain move. And like we were saying earlier about the pile driver had been used before, and it was used during Jerry Lawler's time, not just by Jerry. You did identify him with it, but other people in the territory did use it. It was a big move, big spot back in the day. And the same thing and someone could throw out there with Sasha. She does the frog splash. Yes, but Eddie took the frog splash from his old tag team partner, Art Barr, so he also wasn't the originator of it. The frog splash had been used previously. It's kind of like the stunner was sort of like an Austin original. It's kind of true in that regard. And it's hard to see somebody else using it when it was something that you didn't see everybody else previously use in the past, where it's like that one guy did use it, no one else did. It's kind of the same thing with the rock bottom. Somebody using the rock bottom, it's like Booker using it with the bookend. That was actually something they played up where he stole Rock's move in storyline, So in a way, it's kind of the same factor. It's just like, oh, well, that's his move. It's just it's kind of one of those things at the end of the day. I'm just saying, it's one of those things where it was one guy who did it, and no one else did it. And yes, it has been far removed since Austin did retire. But again, it's one of those things. He was the only guy who did it at that time, and everybody, identified him with it.
That's not true. The Disciple used it in WCW.
Oh, I forgot about the Disciple. But everybody forgot about the Disciple.
I'm just saying, same time, same year, another guy used it. He actually may have used it right around or before Austin made it famous.
True, but
97 and 98.
But again, though, you didn't see like 50 wrestlers using it. That was the Frog Splash was something that's prevalent. So's the pile driver. It's a more prevalent move. That's the thing, to identify somebody. It's like Jake the Snake with the DDT, but everybody uses the DDT. It's like literally everybody has the DDT in their repertoire.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things. It's the stunner's kind of like a more special kind of move that not everybody uses.
Well, the super kick was for a while, too, until the fucking
Super
douchebags ruined
Well, the
it.
Young Bucks did ruin it, yes, and I will agree 100%. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
The Young Bucks, and yes, I'll be the first one to admit, yes, I'm a big mark for the Bullet Club, but I will agree, the Young Bucks fucking ruined the super kick, and they have that they can wear that shame on all around them for that.
All right, I'm going to run down, man. Our Facebook chat's been flying.
Yeah, it has.
Daniel Bakley says, I agree with Victor since it looks like Dream versus Riddle for the North American title. Chris Getty says, I really think Matt Riddle would be a fantastic NXT champion, but it seems like it's going to be Gargano versus Cole at NXT TakeOver New York. I agree with you, but I think that there is a big vision for Matt Riddle. Clearly, they made it a point to have a special on the WWE Network with Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle has been a guy that prior to being in WWE, it was out there and very well known that he was a guy that Hunter coveted to bring into WWE for a good year before they actually brought him in.
According to Jax of Jackson Ritz in this very ring, which you can catch every Monday, I was checking out their show last week, and he believes that he could be getting groomed to eventually face Brock Lesnar and retire him.
I wouldn't put that out of the
It
realm of
could
possibility.
happen.
He
I
does
like
talk
that.
Brock a lot. He has made it a point to make it known. He wants to be the guy to put Brock down for good. So, Joey says, what? I hate that, Joey. Don't do that shit on my show. I'll kick you.
What?
Doing the Austin
The
chant.
Austin what
I
chant?
fucking hate it. Shut up, Ryan.
What?
John C. Danzo says, what about Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff's pile driver? Mataraki says, Ray the Crippler Stevens, Paul Orndorff, and Jerry Lawler all had better pile drivers than Kane. We know that. He also says, rest in peace, King Kong Bundy, hashtag I want 5. Victor Williams, he says, when Punk hit that pile driver on Cena in 2013, when they faced each other on Raw to face The Rock at Mania. I don't remember that.
Say that again?
Victor says, when Punk hit that pile driver on Cena in 2013, when they faced each other on Raw to face The Rock at Mania. Oh, I think he's talking about when Punk turned. It might have been
Raw 1000?
Raw 1000, yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
Mataraki says he will be there. Agree with Chrome. I don't remember what it was. Mataraki.
Undertaker.
Okay. Tom Ramos says Adam Cole's going to be the next NXT champion.
Probably.
John C. Dana says, who's going to take over for Ciampa now that he's out? Matt Riddle, Adam Cole, The Dream. I think we already kind of mentioned it's probably going to be either Gargano or Cole.
I think it's going to be Cole, and I think they're going to speed up the process with this whole Undisputed Era takeover. I think it was going to happen in a few months, but now it's going to happen now.
Yeah, Victor says Cole and Gargano is the consensus. Chris says more likely Adam Cole. He deserves it. They both deserve it. It'd be hard-pressed not to think that at some point Johnny Gargano deserves it. He is Mr. Takeover. He loses so much, but he puts on the best matches of every takeover.
Yeah. You know, and I actually had to catch myself because I was going to say, well, maybe he means since Gargano's already had it and Adam Cole hasn't had it, but Gargano never had it. He never got it.
Nope, he never got that moment. Andy Ritter says Ciampa is having neck surgery. That match isn't happening. Oh, because somebody said Ciampa and Gargano had a fallout at Dusty Classic. Ciampa tried to turn on Gargano. Gargano saw it coming. Damn shame about Ciampa. Hopefully he can come back and stay healthy. That's from Chris. Daniel Bakley says, yeah, that was filmed before his injury since it was supposed to be a takeover angle starting for now. Now that he's on the shelf, it changes things. Chris says, going to miss the greatest sports entertainer of all time. David Rosca says, The Miz should wear the U.S. title, do the same thing like he did with the IC Championship. I disagree. He needs to get into the WWE title hunt or Universal title hunt. Victor says, I'm sticking to my guns. Roman turning on Seth at Mania. Don't forget, they had Dean speaking ill on it for weeks. Okay, Mike says, okay, Maddie's winning me back over. He's back. Must have had a Snickers.
Well, the Flyers lost, so you can judge that for me being a
that's-
little loopy at the beginning of the show.
Chris says, actually really like that idea. You've heard about that. Yeah, I've heard about that. He was talking about Roman. Excuse me. Victor says, I'm just waiting on Bray Wyatt, in all honesty. Me too. We've talked about that a ton. There's some Bray Wyatt love going in here. Joey, every time you comment that in there, I'm not going to read your comment, you asshole.
What? What do you say?
Shut up, Brian.
What?
I'm not going to acknowledge you anymore either.
Why?
Victor says, before he got hurt and he was about to turn face when Roman was champ, he had the people literally in the palm of his hands. He always gets derailed. His actual title run was a joke and a House of Horrors nonsense. Talking about Bray. Tom says Aleister Black and Ricochet should most definitely be singles competitors. It's really weird seeing them as a tag team. I agree, but I feel like it's just as an introductory thing. I think we're talking about that. I don't think they're going to have the longevity that DIY was supposed to have, but I believe that, and we're going to get into it, I do think they're going to get the tag team titles and have a short run with it.
Do you? No, they're probably not going to beat the Usos. They'll probably beat the Revival.
Yeah.
They'll probably be the team.
Well,
they
that's
beat.
the match they have that at Fastlane. That's a tag team.
Oh yeah, that's
title
right. Duh.
Rosca says, Chrome, can you be a fourth guy in Hockey Happy Hour? We'll see. One of these weeks.
Hey, listen, man. There is a free open chair anytime you wish.
I will be happy to act like I know what I'm talking about. I always do. I'm on all these shows, and I act like I have a goddamn clue, and I don't have one.
We're all winging it. Let's be honest.
Tom Arnone says, yo, fam. What's up, Tom? Mataraki says, good retorts. He likes what you had to say back.
Love you, Mikey.
Michael Tucci says his balls itch, man. There's cream for that. You got to get that fixed, pal. Victor says, I'm actually a fan of Buddy Murphy's finisher. The pump handle slam is dirty. Murphy's Law, baby. Love that move. We got a lot of that. Andy says, who the fuck is the disciple? Remember that age thing we were talking about, Andy? We were having a little private chat earlier. And I talked about the 7-year difference between us. You just proved my point, you little shit.
Oh, man.
Victor says Velveteen has the best form of the DDT as of now. Ritter says, I just Googled it. Brutus Beefcake, get the fuck out of here. Tom Ramos, a super kick is just a kick now. Nothing super about it anymore. Gray Ziggler ruined the super kick even more. Both of them, all three of them did.
And indie wrestlers, because every one of them does it.
Mataraki with a bro chant. David Roskin, New World Order, better be in the Hall of Fame this year. They're not going to be because it's DX, but I do believe they'll get their run. Ritter says, I also looked it up, and it seems like aside from KO, Velvet Sky and Disco Inferno also used a stunner. Forgot about the Disco Inferno used it.
But I think that would have been more of a jab anyway at WWF than anything else with Disco.
He might have used that before Austin.
Really?
I'd have to go back.
What,
and
around
look.
like 96?
I'd have to look.
It would have to have been around there.
Victor Williams says Andrade Cien Alamos was a great name. It was until they cut almost all of it out.
Yeah, his hot take was that them cutting out the last names actually isn't a bad thing. And I said, yeah, that's definitely a hot take.
And Victor chimes in with rest in peace Alexander Rusev, Antonio Cesaro, and Big E Langston. Big E just going to be E eventually.
Or big.
Victor says, my last hot take, Shield versus the Rhodes Brothers, Cody and Goldie at Battleground 2013 is a top 20 match of all time. It's a great match in the 2000s. And if you haven't watched it, it's actually a very underrated match.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. It's a really good match. It's actually a match that I occasionally do go back and watch. John says, are the Forgotten Sons in NXT forgotten? Are they going to go anywhere at all? What do you think? Man, we are flying.
I don't know. I think so. I hope so. I mean, it's just, I don't know. The only reason why I'm holding off on it is because I know how WWE is with tag teams.
Yeah.
And not necessarily in NXT, afterwards.
Yeah.
That's the only time I have any concern.
They are the perfect live event tag team tandem to where you can get those three and then go after, and they can go against three other bigger name superstars in there to take the pin. I think that's kind of what they're doing right now.
Gotcha.
Mataraki says, boys, what do you think is going to happen with Asuka and Mandy on Sunday? Seems like they're setting her up to lose. We'll cover that when we do the recap on the other side. Victor Williams, Forgotten Sons, is lost because just like the Street Profits, Victor Williams, Asuka winning that, no doubt. Victor also says, but guys, does Becky winning the Rumble mean nothing? Dude, I am 1,000% on board with you. How it is that she has to earn her way back into a match that technically, I mean, you make the argument she wasn't in the match, and it's just a fucking weird booking for this.
Well, I think Mataraki said it last week that they kind of did the same thing with Austin back in the 90s. Like, Vince would always screw him back then. So if they're trying to make her the new Steve Austin, well, then it kind of. But I agree with it.
Right.
It's like if the Rumble doesn't mean anything, why have it? You know what I mean?
But it was done cleaner though. Like
I agree with that. I agree.
She comes in at 27 after tapping out earlier in the night, and now she comes in and takes the win. But mysteriously, all she takes is a chop block, and her leg is destroyed now, even though she's gotten her legs fucking destroyed 900 times. That one chop block was the greatest chop block of all time, apparently.
Well, I mean,
and now we're milking the leg injury angle, which is fine. Whatever. You know, you want to do
17
what you want to
crutches
do.
to get down to the ring.
You know,
I mean,
I don't know. It's just it's real
well,
fucky.
What's even weirder now?
That's the term that Bill Thrasher on the original Lazy Booking used to always say. When something was screwy, he'd always say, there's something fucky about it with me. And I agree with him. That's the perfect term in this. It's fucky. There's something
I'm actually
weird
surprised that that's not an actual wrestling term like a booker would use. Well, that's fucky right there. Like, seriously, I could see an old booker saying that. But what I was going to say was, what's also kind of odd is that now that they've just decided to say, okay, fuck it. The whole reason we put Charlotte in the match to get that Ronda heat off of her, now we're just going to fuck it. We're going to embrace it. Ronda's going to go heel.
Yeah.
And just be – it's like, okay, so now we're kind of confused at why Charlotte's in this match to begin with. It's like, shit, you really backtracked on that one, didn't you?
Last couple comments, because we're getting ready. We're going to do the exclusive over on YouTube. John says, so is Dean Ambrose going to come? Is he gone after Sunday? He's not going to be going after Sunday. If he's gone, it's after April. The end of April is when his contract, May 1st, his contract is officially, well, April 30th is the last day of his contract. May 1st, he's a free agent. So he will not be gone. Victor says, Dean probably signed a new deal already. I agree. I think Dean's coming back 100%. I think Roman coming back. They've kind of called Roman the Dean Whisperer. It's been a nickname that's been thrown around there. They're using Roman as a Dean Whisperer to kind of help sway. And there's been rumors that he has reconsidered.
Yeah.
With Roman being back now, it's rejuvenated him a bit. So I could see. I never really thought he was leaving to begin with.
I just realized they should change his nickname now. He shouldn't be the big dog anymore. From now on, Roman Reigns is the Dean Whisperer.
The Dean Whisperer. And John Malmus says, "Stop, Becky, the next Austin 316." No,
That's what they're
way.
trying to do with her. I'm not saying
We're
I
not
agree
saying
with it.
she is, but it's the exact booking that they are trying to do. I agree with what you said there, Ryan. Listen, first half of the show, we went off the rails, and it was totally fine because we always go with what the family wants to talk about. Maddie, read our sponsors first.
All right, then. So, this first half of Lazy Booking was brought to you by Scherzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can call 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scherzanosports.com.
We're going to go over to the YouTube. We're going to say bye to Instagram, Periscope, Twitter, and Facebook. We're going to drop the link. It should be at the top of the page as well in the caption. Please click and continue to join the conversation. We'll talk more points from Raw and SmackDown, We continue to have this crazy conversation that totally went off the rails for the last 35 minutes. We're going to preview the pay-per-view coming up. We're going to talk some of those news points with Ciampa, the update on the whole Alicia Fox, Arn Anderson issue. We're going to touch a little King Kong Bundy on the other side as well. So, guys, again, you're the fam. You drive it. Appreciate your comments. Let's keep them going on the other side. Join us on YouTube. Click the link or search A2D Radio. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Lazy Booking right here on A2DRadio.com, brought to you by Sports Outlet for all your sporting needs. Located at 703 Black Horse Pike in Glendora, New Jersey. Give them a call at 856-939-2030. Email them at sportsoutletnj@comcast.net or visit them on the web at www.sportsoutletinc.com.
Boom. I'm like talking in the mic without the headset on like an idiot. I was about to keep talking, too. Good stuff, guys. It's my first time on the air. So.
Welcome.
First half, listen, we talked about a lot of stuff. I couldn't even remember half the shit we talked about because we went off the rails so damn much.
There was a lot of things said, yeah.
But I love that. That's what's great about this show. It's what's great about wrestling. You can just – one thing can lead to another, and you have 50 years worth of shit that we talk about.
Pretty much. I mean, we went all the way back to the Buddy Rogers days.
Yeah,
So it's just like, whoo, we went all the way back to the 50s.
We sure did. But a couple other points. Let's get back to Raw and SmackDown real quick because there's a lot of content that came from it. We talked about Samoa Joe winning the U.S. title on SmackDown. We talked about Kevin Owens, the return of Mustafa Ali. Again, that's going to be an interesting thing. We're going to see how that's going to play out with the WWE title. Little side note: when we talk about Daniel Bryan and kind of where he's at, and we were talking about, and I was going to make this point earlier, but we kind of went off the rails and I never got back to it. I'm kind of hit and miss with this Daniel Bryan heel run, but I'm liking what we're seeing now. I thought that the way that he played the contract signing without saying a word, just sitting there, was perfect, beautifully done. I liked his promo this week. The way my buddy actually had said it, I agreed with him where I'm liking Eric Rowan a little bit more as a heater for him. It's making a little bit more sense, or it's coming together a little bit better. I like the intricacies of stuff, though. If you look at Daniel Bryan's Tron package or video in the background now, when you see it's his name and it has a circle that flips around and it's the recycling logo. Little things like that that add to the character are so good.
The background is green.
And then he wears like the
hemp belt.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
The reason why I like it is just because, again, it's a different version of a heel from Daniel Bryan that we've never seen before.
Sure.
That's what I really love about it. It's like it takes a certain amount of talent and also kind of a certain amount of trust with a company to go a route where I'm going to go back to being a heel, or we're going to turn you back heel, but we need you to do it in a different way than the way you used to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, let me see what I can do. And I think he picked a perfect way to go back to being a heel.
Yeah, well, he took a lot of the things that if you do watch any of the stuff on Total Divas and the things that he talks about in regular interviews, a lot of his lifestyle, it's just amped up. And what he took is, I don't think he's this way in real life.
No.
But he took the stereotype of the people who do live his lifestyle that are over the top with it, and he took those annoyances and then amped them up to the 10th level to basically create what we have now, which in a lot of ways is, the straight edge society gimmick, but it's done it's similar but a little bit different, but it works. That was one that we always said, I think we agreed they cut short on that a little too early.
They did. And once it started getting any feet under him, Punk lost the world title, so.
And even the parallels of, you had Gallows in there with him.
Yeah.
And that was another guy who was a big guy who was floundering. He was Festus and, whatever that goofy gimmick was.
I think the less we talk about that, the better.
Yeah. Just don't ring a bell around him. But the parallels are really good, but it does have its times where it's effective. I don't know why it just didn't work with AJ Styles. People didn't care. But I'm happy to see that it seems to be working well, and particularly at a time where they need it. When we talk, like we're talking about, where if Kofi's going to get that moment at WrestleMania, the coincidence of 5 years later, the guy who's having that same kind of a push suddenly is going against the last guy to have that same kind of an organic push right before Mania is pretty impressive.
Yeah. I think that it's actually really cool how it does kind of come full circle with Daniel Bryan. But again, I'm very intrigued to see what they do after WrestleMania with him. You know, I'm like, okay, so if he's not champion, then what will he be doing next? You know, because a part of you has to think, like, okay, he's probably going to wind up getting the belt again, probably as a heel, you know, and he's probably going to still be doing this gimmick, you know. So I'm kind of interested to see what they'll do for the rest of the year with him with this gimmick.
Oh, yeah, for sure. A couple things real quick on the YouTube. We have Rosca says, ready for Fastlane. Daniel will walk out as the champion. The Revival will walk out as the tag team champions. John C. Danzo says, thanks for doing a great show as always. Appreciate it, man. As always, we love your contributions, brother. He says, thoughts on Jim Ross signing with AEW. Will he be an announcer or booker? I could see him doing both.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, he could part as both.
When you bring in a guy like Jim Ross, especially given their circumstance, I think you try and get a little bit of everything out of him.
Yeah, I mean, he was the announcer in WWE, but he was also the head of talent relations
yeah,
at the same time.
Yeah, you know, I don't know that he'll necessarily be a booker. He could be. But I definitely think he'll be a voice for them, but he will you know, the rumors were him and Conrad, I think, were what I had originally heard. Conrad Thompson.
Yeah.
Which would be very interesting.
That would be.
And with again, it kind of contributes to what we talked about during the Lazies with Something to Wrestle, which is an amazing podcast, and it would be a shame, but it would be understandable, with Bruce Pritchard coming back now to WWE to take on a role in the creative team. If, you know, they could still do that show if Conrad Thompson is not a part of AEW, but I just can't see that going on if if Conrad is indeed going to officially sign with AEW as a commentator.
I will say this, though. It would make perfect sense for AEW to do it. You know, I mean, you want to get off on the right foot, and what better way to get off on the right foot with the wrestling fan base? Not even just the smarks, but even the casuals, by having Jim Ross as your voice. You know, that if you're going to go that route with it, that is the smart move to make, is to hire Jim Ross.
And I think, too, with the not knowing what's going to happen with Ambrose, and if it is true that he's going to stay with WWE, because he does have committed dates now beyond his contract, if you're not going to be able to pull the big name in-ring talent, what's a way that you can, you know, aside from Jericho, clearly, you know, I'm not disregarding Jericho, but that's already a done deal. Yeah. They're going to need more than just Jericho to create that extra buzz, though. Pulling Jim Ross officially under contract as your voice of your company would be a huge get for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Little side thing to add right here. So I just found it on Twitter. This is via ringsidenews.com. So you know how Ronda Rousey does these like road diaries, I think, on her YouTube channel?
Yes.
So I guess in the latest one from today, she went on a bit of a tirade about the crowd and everything. I don't know if you want me to. It's a paragraph long. I have the transcript here.
Yeah, read it.
Let me just read it.
Colorful language. Nice.
Quote, it's been building. So she's talking about the LA crowd reaction, obviously her getting booed, basically. Quote, it's been building up in me since Survivor Series, 100%, yeah, because me and Charlotte put on, I mean, it was one hell of an effing match, and I took a hell of a beating, and there wasn't a person there who wasn't fixated on what was going on in every single second. We completely stole the show of the whole card, and they booed me out of the building. That was such a huge slap in the face. I'm like, F you people, F all of you guys, like even Los Angeles. They don't have any effing pride in their own city at all. That whole city is just a bunch of effing transplants trying to escape effing Ohio or wherever the F that they are from, and they have no effing pride in LA, and they come to our games and blank on our teams and say, I'm effing from Los Angeles. I've been living here for 10 years. No, you're effing not. So it's been bubbling up in me ever since then. End quote. Well, Rhonda.
I actually like that tirade. I like it because it's funny.
I like it because this is what we should have gotten from Rhonda to begin with. I don't know about all the F-bombs, but...
Here's the thing, though. What I like about this...
I think this is all part of it, though.
But here's the thing, though. It's funny because she says Ohio, which I'm like, everybody makes fun of Ohio. Like, that part got me. I'm not going to lie.
So you think this is storyline?
I don't think that it's a coincidence that this is the we started to see the seeds dropped in her ones before this. I think that this could be one big
See, I disagree.
thing. No, I mean, I think she's taking liberties with it.
I think what they're doing is she's doing this on her own. She's been doing it. And WWE's like, okay, well, she's going to run her mouth. We're going to turn this into a storyline, as opposed to them wanting to do a storyline and her, because she did this in UFC.
And the
She
only
did
reason
this-
I don't know is because if she grew
But
up
they
as
can
a
play on that. They know that.
Yes,
they
I
know
understand.
everything
But
that's
here-
ever happened
But
with
I think
Ronda
she's
Rousey.
doing this
here's the
regardless if
thing,
she's
though.
face or not.
I say it because it's like if she grew up as a wrestling fan, then she kind of already knows how fans can turn
Right.
at the drop of a dime, and they do, man. It's like I said, it was only a matter of time before she came face to face with Becky and the crowd booed the shit out of her. It was only a matter of time when that happened, Again, I agree with you. It should have happened a lot sooner than it did, but I don't know. I really wouldn't say that this is like her doing a shoot, maybe a little bit, but not too much. I would say it's like a minor.
I think it's a working shoot.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
something like that. Yeah.
I think it's a worked shoot. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Andy says, "Jesus, I really miss." He says, "You guys are back already. I must have really spaced out. Mind you, I'm watching while at work because I guess we took a short break than we usually take, huh? Didn't feel like it, but
Usually take like 5 to 7 minutes.
I don't know.
Birds with feathers usually a little bit longer. Wrestling's not usually that
yeah,
long.
we like to put our feet up and chill for a little bit.
Hey, feel free to rate our break time. See,
Other points, clearly the Shield reunion, which I enjoyed, I thought was cool. And they're making sure that they emphasize that this is the final Shield reunion, which I don't think is going to be the final
No.
Shield reunion.
are you kidding?
Because I don't think Dean
Not
Ambrose
when they
is
make
leaving.
that much money. No.
Yeah, I don't think that Dean leaves.
Oh,
But
God.
the other points, Elias's promo on Philadelphia, brilliant. Might have been the best one he's done. He is,
See, here's the thing. They cut off a piece of it on TV.
did they?
Yeah, and it came back when he's singing. And it got to towards the very end before his opponent came out. So they didn't even include the entire thing.
Well, I took a video of it. I have the entire thing
Yeah.
on video. It's pretty great. Pretty great to the point where we're all like, he's not wrong. We were in the crowd. He's not wrong. The Gritty comment, great. And you guys saw Gritty retweeted.
Oh, God.
No?
Gritty retweeted. I'm
Tweeted
sorry.
Elias.
Oh, God, he
Unclear.
did. That's
I'm
great.
going to pull that tweet up right now. It's pretty great.
See, this is the year of Gritty. Gritty has taken over the world. It is official.
He's freaking amazing. That's why.
And he represents, of course, our beloved Philadelphia Flyers, even if they lost.
Gritty says, say what you want about me, Jeff, but please, please leave the moms out of it. Classless. and it's a GIF or a GIF, whatever you call it, with Elias that says, because everyone's mom looks like that googly-eyed slob Gritty.
Yeah, that was on TV. Yes, that part was
Yes.
on there.
Oh, well, they're selling Gritty T-shirts. They're going to make sure they get the Gritty comment
Oh,
on
yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Is it bad that when we were in the crowd, we were dying for a Gritty appearance on Raw?
Oh, God.
Did they miss an opportunity?
I think they did.
With the
Yeah.
lame Michael Che and Colin Jost things in the background, especially when they're walking down the hallway and you're seeing things, to not just have a Gritty appearance there, like when they were talking about different things or weird looking this and that, and then they could have literally just did a turnaround and Gritty was just there.
No, they could have.
Oh,
By the way,
Missed
though,
opportunity.
I was not a really big fan of those two on the show.
Yeah,
only
it was-
because I felt like that kind of was really boring.
well,
At
it
least-
was very
Corporate.
WWE-esque of 5 years ago when they had
Yeah,
a
I
guest
was getting that
host all the
vibe.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't a big fan of it. And I watched Saturday Night Live. I didn't get it. It wasn't that entertaining to me. On the Facebook, John asks, will WWE pull the trigger on a 4 horsewomen feud? I mean, they teased it years ago, and they really need to make this happen. You could just print money on this feud. We talk about it kind of periodically. I think Survivor Series is probably the most logical time we'll
Yeah.
start to see
Because
that.
they'll bring up the 4 horsewomen of MMA. I mean, when Ronda comes back after her WrestleMania vacation.
Andy asks, did Chrome say he thinks it is a worked shoot? Yes, I do. I think that is a worked shoot by Ronda. Absolutely. There's definitely truth behind it, but they know what they're doing. There's a work behind
Yeah.
it. Raska says, do you think there will be an Elias versus Rock concert at WrestleMania 35? I think that's a good question. It would
Ooh.
not shock me.
You know what? That would be amazing if they did do that.
I think that Rock will somehow be a part of WrestleMania. I don't think clearly now at this point it's going to be a match, but that would be a wonderful way to implement Rock in WrestleMania. Makes a lot of sense. He could hit the rock bottom and everybody can be happy. Yeah, I think that could be a very good possibility, Mr. Raska.
And that would mean Elias has made 2 WrestleMania appearances in 2 straight years, and he hasn't wrestled any other
true.
one of them.
Andy Ritter says, honestly, Raska, that might be the funniest thing that you have ever said. I don't know if I could be too mad at that. That is one of the best contributions you've had there, Raska. I hope that we see that, brother.
That we better. You know what? Roscoe's put it out to the universe. It better come true now.
That's
it
right.
Better.
Let's book it.
Yes.
Book it.
Brodo, you got Rock on the line, right?
Sure.
Good.
What else am I missing, guys, from Raw and SmackDown? Am I missing anything else?
See, Ali came back.
This is where the no
Samoa
notes
Joe won
thing
the
comes
US
in.
title.
Yeah.
Lacey Evans made another weird appearance. Oh, yes. R-Truth had one of the funniest things when Lacey Evans left and he said, "Come back, sexy Claus." That was fucking
yeah.
hilarious.
That was
but
pretty
other
good.
than that, let me see. No, I can't really think of anything else, to be honest with you.
No, I mean, I thought it was a pretty good week, though, for WWE programming. I thought that Raw minus the corny pop-ins was
Yeah.
pretty good. Again, Ryan, I don't get the booking, man, of the Charlotte Becky thing. It's so sloppy. It's so sloppy with so many holes, and they could have done so much better with it. But because there are epic moments in it, people are willing to overlook it. You know, I don't want to be the guy that breaks down and overanalyzes things, but it's been pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of feel like, well, if you were going to make Ronda a heel, then why'd you put Charlotte in the match? And then you think, like, okay, but Charlotte is kind of solid enough that she should be in the match, you know, and it's more of a rivalry between her and Becky than it is Ronda. You really start getting to that feeling.
Side note, I don't know if this was on television, so you guys will have to tell me because I was there. First of all, I liked Ronda's turn. I thought her promo was fine.
Yeah.
It's weird that she just said, I never put the title down, and then came back and was like, no, I'm taking my title back. That made no sense. But after the beatdown, her music was playing, and she went to get out of the ring, and she fell off the ring apron.
No, that was not on TV.
Oh, my God. She fell through the ropes off the ring apron.
Oh, my God.
Second person to do it of the night, by the way, because I don't know if you saw during the tag match, there was a hot tag to Bobby Lashley who fell through the ropes coming into the ring.
No, I did not, actually.
Yeah. Ronda fell and broke character for a second and kind of laughed at herself and then went back into, like, the serious mode.
Thank God it wasn't on TV.
And it sucks because I had my phone out videoing, and I just stopped the video right before Ronda got out of the ring. And I'm like, fuck. Oh, it would have been such a good moment to have on video.
Oh my God,
I was
that's
just curious.
great.
I didn't know if that made television or not, if it was like her exiting. I couldn't remember.
I wish it had. That would have been great.
Ritter says, I agree. That's why I asked. I cannot remember who said it, but someone said that Ronda had to trash the business in order for her to really turn heel and make it seem legit. Agreed. Everything. That's why I think it's a work shoot, because there's a lot of truth of what's being said, but it's definitely being amped up. And I know, like Ryan said, she has a history of this kind of stuff, but it's also, it's not an accident that she went in and she talked about how they need this and they need that and yada, yada, yada. This is everything that everybody has criticized her for, and they understand that. And in order to fully carry out a Becky Lynch big moment at WrestleMania, Ronda couldn't go in as the face. They tried to position it originally as Ronda being that in-between and have Charlotte be the heater.
Yeah.
But it didn't work.
Well,
So plan B is you have to put it's Becky versus the world.
yeah.
Charlotte and Becky.
Well, 'cause
or
the-
Charlotte and Ronda.
Because the problem is with the one backlash that I don't think WWE counted for was once Charlotte was trying to take the heat off of Ronda, it became a Becky versus Charlotte match. and Ronda was kind of just off to the side, and no one gave a shit. you know?
Yeah. It was either negative reaction or no reaction,
Yeah.
and no reaction is worse than negative reaction.
Yes, completely.
We're gonna have to pull up the fast lane. Oh, I did miss a comment.
I'll pull up the card while you get the comments there.
Hey, Chrome, did on the Facebook side, our poll came up, correct?
Yes.
It did?
Yes.
Okay, that's okay. Just confirming.
John says, I saw a comment somewhere on the Twitter that someone said that Ronda went full Lesnar. I thought the comment was a joke. Enough said. It's true. She did.
She did. You know what I would have done? And I know they don't do this anymore, but man, it would have been awesome. When she was beating the hell out of Becky, I would have had Becky coughing up a little bit of blood. It wouldn't be real, of course, but I'd be like, oh, man, that would have sold those punches just 10 times better.
Yeah.
But, oh, well, that's a different era of wrestling right there. All right, now let's see here. Pulled up the card. Okay, so kickoff show is Rey Mysterio versus Andrade, which actually kind of deserves to be on the show. But it's a good.
We've seen it so much on television.
That
already.
is true, though.
I'm gonna go with Andrade in this match.
I'm gonna say Andrade. Yeah, I'm gonna say Andrade. I'm gonna
Ryan?
go with him.
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
Andrade versus Mysterio on the kickoff.
Mysterio.
Okay. I'm trying to think of who won the last match clean, because then that's probably going to be the trade-off. But anyway, Raw Tag Team titles, The Revival versus Aleister Black and Ricochet. Oh, and I forgot, Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. I forgot they were in this match.
Oh, did they get added to the match?
I believe they did.
Okay. I'm gonna go with. Ricochet and Aleister Black.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Ricochet and Aleister Black.
Agreed.
Okay, women's tag team titles. The Boss and Hug Connection, I hate that name, versus Nia Jax and Tamina.
Who cares? It's gonna be Sasha and
Bailey, yeah.
Whatever their fucking tag team's name is.
Yeah, that's such a stupid name. Roberto.
Yeah, I agree.
Love the enthusiasm. All right, SmackDown Tag Team titles. The Usos versus The Miz and Shane McMahon.
See, I think there's a lot of intrigue in this match. The fact that Miz's dad's going to be in the front row in the crowd. And I do believe that some way, shape, or form, whether it's The Miz turning back heel or Shane turns heel, I do believe that this is going to set up a Mania match. So I'm intrigued. This is why it was in the poll question, because this is going to have WrestleMania implications. I thought for sure Miz was going to stay face and Shane was going to turn heel. But from our conversations the last couple weeks on the show, I'm a little bit swayed for the simple fact of, if there is the storyline working where Vince is going to be crazy and the family's basically going to have to take over so he can kind of go off and do the XFL, and then, they can get rid of that quote-unquote heel authority figure, or, completely delusional authority figure at this point. They have to keep the McMahons, all of them, faces. So I'm intrigued by it to see how they pull it off. I mean, I could see where, they lose and Miz's dad is disappointed him in the front row, so he flips out and takes it out on Shane. I had the idea in my head, maybe Miz's dad turns on Miz or something of that nature.
See, the problem is because Batista's facing Hunter, he can't be involved in the McMahon storyline. So it's kind of like, ooh, this does change a lot.
Which, by the way, I really enjoyed Hunter's promo on Raw as well. I was disappointed that Batista wasn't there, particularly because he was advertised, but I felt like Hunter had a wonderful promo in terms of creating, kind of summarizing the kind of character and real life heat that's there, and bringing it kind of into the WrestleMania feud. So it's created. I was excited for this match when it was teased before with the Evolution kind of reunion on the show on Raw. But this has kind of gotten me back into, I'm really invested into this possibility of this match.
Gotcha.
And Batista is a great heel.
Yes.
Batista is a phenomenal heel.
Yeah, Who actually would have thought too that you
Yeah.
know Batista would have the dry wit when he would.
I'm not going to be in Philadelphia because I'm be honest, I don't like Philadelphia. It's a dump.
It's like gotta love Batista. All right, next up. Actually, hold on. We didn't pick, did we? For the SmackDown tag titles, I think we just went into the implications. Of the match.
It's the Usos.
Okay, I'm gonna say the Usos and yeah,
Agreed.
okay, cool. All right, SmackDown Women's Title: Asuka versus Mandy Rose.
I'm hoping it's going to be Asuka. There was a scare this week on a house show on Monday night. They had to stop a match between Asuka and Mandy Rose because Mandy Rose, but they made it sound like she destroyed Asuka's face. They had to actually stop their match on the house show on Monday night.
She's absolutely fine.
She's
apparently.
okay, apparently. Thank God, because it looked like they were concerned of injury for her.
That title picture's already a mess. Like we don't need any more of a mess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't even talk about it yet because we got to get through this week to see.
Chrome,
Because
you know what's happening. Don't fight it. Don't fight it.
I'm going with
fight
Asuka.
it.
I'm going with Asuka in this match.
I agree. She'll lose at
Asuka.
Mania. She'll lose at Mania.
Asuka.
To Lacey.
Absolutely.
I really
Don't
hope
fight it,
not.
Chrome. Don't fight it. It's okay.
Oh man, sorry.
Shut up, Brian.
She should.
Shut up.
All right, next up, The Shield versus Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, and Bobby
I
Lashley.
mean, clearly the Shield's
Yeah.
going to get their win in this.
Oh.
How much ring time do you think Roman's going to say? It'll be interesting.
I think you'll.
It's not a no DQ match, so
I don't. I think Dean's going to do a lot of the work in this match because they're not going to want to risk Seth getting hurt before Mania. And I don't know that Roman's going to be fully conditioned to carry out a large load in this match. So I do believe that Ambrose is going to be working this match a lot.
Yeah, he'll be taking a lot of the bumps.
He's going to take a lot of the bumps and do a lot of the work. I don't think he's going to see a ton of time in this match.
I could see Roman getting the final pin.
Yeah.
But I think that would be like he'll only do maybe like the last 10, and that's maybe stretching it.
I mean, I could see them doing the whole spot where, they continuously get so close to the tag and build up the anticipation for Roman to get back into the ring, and late in the match they finally get the tag.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're going to do a thing where they take him, kind of like what they always do with Strowman, I'm not saying they're going to put Roman through a friggin' table. I'm not saying that. But they're going to kind of do a spot on him on the outside to kind of keep him out of the match for a while, and then he'll do a late Fury and
Wait.
pick up the pin.
Mm-hmm.
You mean they aren't going to do the same spot they've done to Braun Strowman that injured him with the steel steps for Drew McIntyre? Oh, I'm kind of disappointed.
Hope
No,
not.
I'm joking.
Hope not.
All right, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte. I don't really think that there's much of a question on that one.
Most predictable match in the history of WWE.
Yeah, I mean, if Becky doesn't win this match,
Oh, God.
How are
Oh,
we getting
my
to
God. Then officially Vince has lost his mind.
then Becky might actually get arrested then.
That storyline would be a shoot.
I was going to
then.
say something that I might regret if they actually fuck me over, and say if Becky doesn't win this match, the show is over because I can't. I have no feel for anything in terms of creative. If that happens,
The child in you has officially been murdered.
like this
right
will have been your final lazy booking.
It's
been fun, Crump.
Been fun. Been a great
Fun.
ride.
It's been an honor.
We had a hell of a ride, guys.
In memoriam. All right, WWE Championship, the last possible prediction here on Lazy Booking this week. Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens.
It's interesting.
Really?
I think no, I don't think that Bryan's going to drop the title.
Okay.
I don't know that we're going to get a clean finish. I don't know that we're going to have a clear winner. I could see Eric Rowan getting involved in this match, costing Owens, which keeps him in the title picture for WrestleMania. Maybe Owens wins by DQ. I'm going to say Kevin Owens wins by DQ.
I don't want it to happen, but Sami Zayn's coming back, and he's costing Kevin Owens. I'm telling you.
And that would be another way to get to the DQ. It could
Because
be
you
Rowan. It could be Sami Zayn.
You can't have Owens get pinned clean. You can't.
No, I agree.
I don't know. I'm more on the side of Owens versus Joe at Mania, so I'm going to say Bryan.
Owens versus Joe? Oh, yeah. I was
yeah.
thinking Bryan versus Joe in my head for a second. I thought that's what he said.
Yeah.
That's how my brain processes.
I mean, I'd be fine with it.
I mean, I am.
I mean,
fucked,
we
apparently,
talked about-
thinking logically. Told you guys.
See, the Flyers lose once, and everything goes to hell.
Yeah, it's that orange you're wearing, Chrome. It's wearing off on you. You know what I mean?
Everything in my head and my eyes are rolling around. Everything in my head's rolling around like Gritty's eyes.
Do your hands squeak?
But
My belly does.
All right, moving on. Anyway, Maddie, what's your prediction?
Shouldn't have went there. Gonna move on now.
Like TNA, we crossed the line.
Rowan will interfere, and we will get a Daniel Bryan cheating victory.
Okay.
And then that will carry us off into the sunset for WrestleMania for Kingston and Bryan.
What do you think's main eventing?
Charlotte and Becky.
I'm going to say Charlotte and Becky. Yeah.
See, the only reason why I ask that is because I don't know if they would end back-to-back pay-per-views with Becky Lynch.
And that's a fair point. I think if they don't main event and it's Bryan and Owens, that will convince me that there will be a schmoz ending to that.
Because I think, say for example, Sami Zayn came back, cost him and everything. That would be
a big moment.
It'd be a big moment, and it would give a rub to the SmackDown brand, because we know for a fact that the SmackDown match is not going to be the main event. It's either going to be the Lesnar match or it's going to be Becky. So it'll give a rub to them.
I'm really worried that if Becky and Charlotte don't main event, then we're going to have some kind of bullshit that will involve Ronda. And I'm like, uh-oh. Like,
and
please don't do this reinventing the wheel shit. Just do it straightforward like you're fucking supposed to, WWE. Please, do not make us have to put you in the fucking corner.
I mean,
please.
I don't know how it's going to affect things. I do think Ronda will make an appearance. I just don't know how. You know, I could see. It's weird because you don't want to have her come in and interfere to inject Becky into the match, but at the same time, her whole thing was getting Becky in. Like, this whole storyline predicated off of her getting Becky back into the match. It would be a total clusterfuck. You talk about really lazy, shitty booking if that happens. So
that would be the pure
not
definition,
so
actually, to be
sure.
honest with you.
What's up, handsome? What's up, daddy?
I'm going to say if they did do that, the only lame-ass explanation they would have would be, because she had that revelation on Raw that she just decided, okay then, I'm just going to interfere in the match. I'm like, please, no, that is such a shitty excuse to go to that.
Over on the Facebook, couple things that are popping up here. Andy says, anybody realize that it's pretty much a SmackDown pay-per-view? There are only 2 Raw matches. And I think that goes to the point that Ryan made earlier.
And by the
Raw
way,
is going to be getting the highlight next month at WrestleMania, so I think they're going to heavy load SmackDown this round.
True. But here's the funny thing, and I kind of find this as hilarious. When they were originally going to have the vacant Raw Women's title on the line at Fastlane between Becky and Charlotte, yay! We get a match between 2 Raw stars. Wait, 1 no Raw stars, and the Raw Women's title is on the line, and 2 SmackDown stars are going to fight for it. Absolutely, you know what you're fucking doing, WWE. I love you guys so much.
Andy says, Mandy is winning that damn title, LOL. Andy says, Brodo, I think if she does win that means Asuka is hurt in some way. Only reason I don't like her winning is because it means the Iconics are going to Mania, and I don't think Billy is ready. John C. Danzo says, will we see Harper coming back?
Is it possible? It is. It is in the possibility that he could show up and Rowan and him could interfere in the match. It is a possibility.
I hope not.
I mean,
not at this point. I'm not saying I don't want him to come back. I don't want him to come back at this pay-per-view.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. This is WWE. Sometimes they like to get a little tricky with you sometimes and pull a fast one on you.
There's a part of me that I would love to see a new feud between Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan, a face Wyatt and a heel Bryan, and have Harper come back with Bray. I would be intrigued by that. I just don't know. I don't like the idea of constantly handcuffing Harper and Rowan now together. You've had them together. You broke them up. You put them back together in the Wyatts. Then you put them back together in the Bludgeon Brothers. And then Harper got hurt, and you've kind of found this spot now that Eric Rowan's fitting into,
Yeah.
not necessarily as a single star, but separated from Luke Harper at this point.
To add on top of that, too, one thing people forget is Harper, before he came to WWE, was a singles wrestler.
Sure.
In the indies. Yes, it was an indie thing, and it was an indie gimmick that got him over, but he was an indie wrestler, and he had some really great matches when he was a singles. I mean,
He is a CZW alum.
yeah. So it's like the possibilities are there that he could come back as a single. He won't have the gimmick that I think he had been identified with. I would think they'd have to change it a little bit. But who knows? Like, I'd like to see possibilities here.
Yeah.
And you're right. You shouldn't handcuff two guys together because you break up guys that you have no business breaking up, but then you keep guys that you don't necessarily need to keep together. You always keep them together, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I think Harper as a single star can work. We've seen it kind of work before when he went for the Intercontinental title.
Yes.
We haven't seen it work for Rowan, but they've now finally found a place away from Bray and away from Harper that Rowan is finding a niche for himself that fits his character, fits his size. You know, he's the heater for Bryan. I don't want to see them tamper with that and pigeonhole him back. You know, kind of typecast him into the same similar type of a role.
Well, it's the same thing with the Wyatt family. Okay, it's the Wyatt family with Bray. Now it's the Wyatt family with Bryan. You know, it's kind of like, oh, God, here we go again. Same thing.
Roska says, I agree with you. Mandy will walk out as the new SmackDown Live Women's Champion. John Danzo says Brody Lee.
Brody. There we go. That was his name. I was trying to think of his name.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brody Lee.
God, that was interesting back in the day with Brody Lee.
So a couple of the news points before we get off there. That's by the way, that's it. That's our predictions there. Ryan, who you got for the title match?
Absolutely, Daniel Bryan.
Okay. Go with me. Kevin Owens is going to win in a disqualification.
People at home, that is Tom Arnone agreeing with me. So there you go. Well, he's agreeing with me.
Oh,
and if anybody knows anything about Tom, if anybody knows anything about Tom is an aficionado on pro wrestling.
Yes,
that means it is officially happening.
In fairness to Tom, he has made an appearance on Lazy Booking before.
Yes,
He has made a couple of appearances on Lazy Booking.
Coach, you watching WrestleMania? I'm stuck watching.
Well done. Andy, cheap little plug for Andy over here. He says, FYI, and we like cheap plugs, by the way, brother.
Bang,
he
bang.
says, FYI, Universal Prediction ballots are live, and Ritz Mania Fact of the Day was posted earlier, too, for those wondering. Yeah, Jackson Ritz, they're dropping WrestleMania facts on their page. It's pretty cool. They're going every WrestleMania up until the day of. And something I was actually tossing around, and I think we're going to do on for the Lazy Booking is every day I'm going to find a iconic WrestleMania image and drop the image just to kind of give us a little bit of a hype.
Like a gallery, yeah.
So, you know, it could be something from – and I'm not going in order of WrestleManias, but I figure it's the last month. Every day leading up to it, we'll drop in, and I'll do like a countdown to WrestleMania. You know, so many days, kind of like WWE does, and I'll drop an iconic image from each one.
I like that.
Oh,
So
man.
you'll check that out, too. We're going to be dropping those. It's cool. I'm going to try to find some interesting ones. I'm going to try to find some rare ones that people don't really know about. I'm going to try to find some of the real iconic ones and make it a lot of fun. Some people like to save the pictures because it's cool to kind of go back and look at, so you'll be able to try to do that. So,
Yeah.
you know, we're going to be dropping some content on the wrestling shows pages and some A2D page stuff as we get closer to WrestleMania. Also, quick plug for that, too. Andy is going to be on the show.
Ooh.
You stud, you. Andy's actually going to be on with us.
Oh, yes. Awesome.
It's you.
We're doing our WrestleMania roundtable in our regular time slot.
Gotcha.
We did it last year, and if you guys are with A2D have seen our roundtables before, you know, we don't really do breaks. We just get a group of guys and we come in and just rotate around. So, you know, we'll change up the personalities. And fortunately, those guys who are actually in Houston, and typically they drop their show on Mondays, it's not a live show. This will be their chance to come on and interact with the fam and be in here. So Andy will be with us. Ritz, he'll be with us for the preview show. That'll be the roundtable and the post show. And Jax, I believe, won't be here for the preview, the roundtable, but he'll be here for the following show. which will be a lot of fun to have them in commingle shows. Somebody might get put through this table.
I wonder how we're gonna run this draft. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it like fantasy style or serpentine. What are we gonna do here?
We'll figure it
How
out.
are we gonna randomize this? I'm looking forward to that.
Should have
Yeah.
a freaking ring bell I'll find like a ring bell sounder
Ding,
every
ding.
time you change it.
Absolutely. Ryan will cue us up. Time to switch, boys. Time to get out. And we'll have some of our, we may have some of the guys who were on last year with us. We had my buddies Mark and my buddy Greg were on with us last year. So we're going to rotate around. We're going to make it fun.
Somebody's getting put through a table. Too many people not to. You know what I mean? It's a missed
know.
opportunity.
I know.
All I have to say too about this WrestleMania for everyone who's kind of worried if it's gonna eat, look at it this way. No one thought WrestleMania 10 was going to be good, and look at what fucking happened there. WrestleMania 10 was one of the most memorable ones in history.
Yeah. John says he wants in on the round table. We could see, man. Maybe we can make it happen. Let's see. Oh, Jax will not be on either show due to scheduling, but our boy Silent Hill will fill his spot. So whoever Silent Hill is, he might be on here.
That's a
And
great
it sounds
game.
like he doesn't even need a mic because he's a Silent
Silent.
Hill. So he's just going to sit there and
Is
look
he
at
a
the
real
camera.
person? Is
Well,
he
that's
Maybe he'll be like our Diesel and just stand in the back corner
Hey,
with glasses with his
listen,
arms
man.
crossed.
part of the
Sal-
set? I like it.
Listen, Silent Hill's a great video game, so I have nothing against it, and not
Yeah.
a bad movie, so I'll take it.
Is Andy
I'll
bringing
take
video
that any day
games?
of the week.
Video games? Bringing video games to the
There's
show?
a video game Silent Hill, and there's a movie
No,
Silent
no,
Hill.
no. I was saying, is Andy bringing video games?
Oh, well, no,
Maybe.
no. I'm just saying he is a video game.
So-
no, I'm
I
joking.
understand.
So last couple of things real quick. We don't need to talk about the Alicia Fox thing again. Although she's apparently gone AWOL, so there is a lot of truth to the Alicia Fox issues with alcohol abuse that
boy.
cost Arn Anderson his job. So we'll see what happens with her. We had her on our future endeavor list a couple months ago anyway, so this might be the last straw. King Kong Bundy passed away this week, guys. He's a professional wrestling legend, and even outside of that, we're based out of the Philadelphia area. A guy who was very much ingrained in Philadelphia. He was a regular, or I would say he was a frequent contributor on some of the sports talk radio stations around here. He grew up in South Jersey. A lot of people, a couple people I know, their families went to high school with him. He's a Washington Township High School alum. What would you say is his legacy as far as professional wrestling or even beyond?
Well, he did set that record at the first WrestleMania.
Nine
against-
seconds. That
yeah.
was eventually broken by Diesel.
Yes, against SD Jones. His most memorable match was his match with Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 2 in the steel cage match. The match that saved.
The old blue cage.
Yes,
I
and the
miss
match
it.
that single-handedly saved WrestleMania 2 from being a complete shit show.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and you're spot on with that. For me, his legacy is at his time, and I talked actually a little bit about it on Birds of a Feather. His time in professional wrestling, he was a great heel. And the
Yes.
look that he had at the time when you had a lot of those characters, his look was fantastic. And when you talk about the early years, particularly in WrestleMania with the Hulkamania era building its momentum, he was a perfect foil for Hogan. He was with Bobby Heenan, who was a big mouthpiece, and he was just a menacing type of a figure. And he had a lot of memorable feuds. He's part of the Undertaker's streak as far
was.
as losses.
And I give him credit for that because that was past his prime, and he
Yeah.
came back at WrestleMania 11, and it wasn't a bad match. I mean, it's nothing that you're going to remember forever, but it wasn't bad for
Right.
what it was.
Right.
You know?
But for me, what his legacy is, and a lot of us who are from this area know this, he was one of the great heels of his generation, probably in a 4 or 5 year time span. He was one of the great heels.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of the ring, he was one of the nicest people you could ever meet. A lot of, anyone who's had a chance to meet him has never said a bad word about him. I talked about it the other day on the show. If you looked at ABC, 6 ABC, did post about all the local news outlets posted about his passing. People were sharing pictures and telling stories about when they met him at Phillies games and how he was great with their kids and great with their family. And he would talk Eagles with people for 20 minutes and this and that. I had the pleasure 3.5 years ago to meet him at an autograph signing. And, he wouldn't take – I just wanted to take a picture with the guy. He refused to take my money. He took the picture with me for free. He talked to me for about 15 minutes. And just such a nice, classy guy. Anytime if you ever went to any of those conventions and stuff and you saw the way he interacted with the boys, You could tell he was well respected, well liked, and a really personable guy. And he is definitely going to be missed. So, rest in peace to him, and also rest in peace to Luke Perry, whose son is with AEW, Jungle Boy.
Oh, wow, I forgot all about
Yeah.
that. Holy cow.
Yeah, John dropped that in too. So rest in peace to Luke Perry, who also has made an appearance on the Edge and Christian show on the WWE Network.
Oh, that's right, he did.
Yeah,
I forgot all about
he's,
that, too.
He's another guy who
Jeez.
has ties to pro wrestling, and Jungle Boy put out a really nice tweet about him, about how he did nothing but support him in everything that he did. So, shout out to those guys. Rest in peace to them. And listen, great show next week. We're going to recap Fastlane. We'll talk Raw and SmackDown. I'm sure we'll have some other news points. And, guys, the road to WrestleMania kicks off. Don't forget, Hockey Happy Hour coming at you at the top of the hour. We're going to have Mr. Sinsuti, the handsome Brian Daly, and the other schmuck, Penguin Schmuck, right? He's on tonight?
Yeah, the guy that we had to hire because of equal opportunity.
Yeah. So he's going to be on, Mikey. And again, tomorrow we got Philly sports, guys. Saturday, hooligans. Sunday, we got agree to disagree. Monday, in this very ring drops. Also, we got the sports hounds. Tuesday, we got birds of a feather. Wednesday, we got the fix. Actually, Saturday, we have a new show debuting, don't we?
The weekly roundup.
Yeah.
Weekly roundup.
And that's a 4 p.m. start time,
Yep.
correct?
Mr. Jake Friel hosting.
So Jake Friel is hosting. So first time they're on this week. Guys, check them out. They're great guys. It's going to be fun to see them finally officially on the air with the fam. And, yeah, we got the fix. We got AM and the PM next week. We're coming back at you next week. Until then, for Mr. Sinsuti, for your boy Chrome, for the handsome Ryan Brodo on the ones and twos. A lot of good-looking guys in this crew. I'm telling you. I'm sorry. You can't be the only good-looking one here.
Daly, you sit down over there.
And in fairness,
I'll get to you later.
Screw you all, because the Ginger Gang is still we're the reigning kings of looks over
I'm going
here.
to dye my hair red.
Beautiful beard. Until then, guys, it's been a great time. Thank you to the sponsors. Greet us, them sponsors.
All right, then. Lazy Booking was brought to you by, like it always is, Gibson Mayer, LLC, your certified public accounts located 301 Oxford Valley Road in Yardley, PA. You can give them a call, 215-369-3300. Hey, man, it's tax season, so you want to make sure you get all the money you can back from the government. So be ready, be prepared, and call Gibson Mayer.
Have a great week, guys.